So according to the latest breaking news, one of the three-letter organizations says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of federal workforce. And so now the FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. Excuse the golden doodle here who wants all the love. Police are searching for a suspect, a man wanted for escaping with thousands of dollars worth of merchandise from Target stores across Southern California. Abortion ban opponents flocked to Donald Trump in Iowa, and the old American dream died, according to the fact that Americans now need to make roughly $120,000 a year to afford a typical middle-class life and qualify to even purchase a home. While a network of smugglers moved more than $125 million, capital M, my dudes, in cash through airports through checked and carried on luggage and more. Welcome back to Squirrel Tribe. For those of you who are returning, I love you. I appreciate you immensely. For those of you, it's your first time. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you get some information and maybe even a little entertainment out of what we're going to do here today. Now, first up is Newsweek. Just minutes ago, published an article with the headline that read, "Abortion ban opponents flocked to Donald Trump in Iowa." Here's the full story. Almost half of those who oppose a national abortion ban voted for Donald Trump in the Iowa caucuses, according to CNN polling. The former president demonstrated his grip on the 2024 Republican presidential nomination with a huge win in the contest on Monday. Those who ventured out in the bitter cold delivered a roughly 30-point win for Trump. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis finished in a distant second, just ahead of former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Notably, polling showed that almost half, roughly 44%, of those who oppose a national ban on most or all abortions, as Trump now does, voted for him, according to CNN's entrance poll results. But he also showed strength among caucus goers who favor a national abortion ban, with 55% of people saying they were voting for Trump. Now, the backing from supporters and opponents of a national abortion ban could hamper Democrats' ability to attack Trump on the issue of abortion. However, the polling also showed that abortion was not the top issue for Trump voters. A quarter of Trump voters said abortion was the most important issue for them, but many more cited immigration, 64% roughly, and the economy, 52%. Almost half, roughly 46%, of those who said abortion was the most important issue for them backed DeSantis. Now, Trump has often sidestepped the issue on the campaign trail, even as he continued to claim credit for the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade after his successful nomination of 3 conservative justices cemented the court's shift to the right. He has refused to endorse national bans on abortion and has warned fellow Republicans against taking extreme positions that are unpopular with the majority of the public. He called DeSantis's signing of a 6-week ban on abortion a terrible mistake last year. Asked to clarify his position on abortion restrictions at a town hall in Iowa last week, Trump said that Republicans who committed to extreme bans have been decimated in elections. He said he was in support of exceptions to bans in cases of rape, incest, and to protect the life of the mother. You have to win elections, he said. Otherwise, you're going to go back where you were, and you can't let that ever happen again. You've got to win elections. That is the quote from Donald Trump. Trump's refusal to endorse a national ban has attracted criticism from rivals and anti-abortion groups. In April last year, a major anti-abortion group said Trump's comments about that abortion restrictions should be left up to states, not the federal government, were a morally indefensible position for a self-proclaimed pro-life presidential candidate. In a statement, Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America's president, Marjorie Dannenfelser, said the group would, end quote, oppose any presidential candidate who refuses to embrace at a minimum a 15-week national standard to stop painful late-term abortions while allowing states to enact further protections. Abortions is a huge topic amongst a lot of people. So I can see how this is going to be possibly a make it or break it when it comes to who people are going to vote for. If you would like to leave comments in the comment section on that, feel free to do so. Now, this one comes from Fox News. Ready? And it says, FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities, and FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of federal workforce. Here's the full story, plus some of my own opinion and a little bit of comedic interjection because y'all know me. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA for short, that good old three-letter terms there, is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual, what are you doing, Max? Severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. It is rude to yawn in the camera, sir. Just so you know. Stop. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. This is according to the FAA's website. They include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism. Now, let me just go ahead and say, there's like one or two things in there that I think would be okay as a pilot or something, but the rest of them, not so much. I don't want a pilot who is blind. That makes absolutely no sense. I don't want one that has epilepsy because you just never know what's going to happen. Severe intellectual disability, unfortunately, may be the difference between life and death of every single person on the airplane if this person can't make decisions necessary when necessary. This is not me being, I don't even know the right word, but there are certain positions that should not be held by certain individuals based on what they can and cannot do. I mean, that just goes across the board. And I don't see why the FAA, why in a plane or in the tower or anything else should be any different. That's just me personally. Y'all are free to disagree. Now, it says here, the initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion, which we've talked about, hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel across our nation and beyond. The FAA's website shows the agency's guidelines on diversity hiring were last updated on March 23rd, 2022. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete, I can never say his name, Buttigieg, Pete B., Department of Transportation, is a government agency charged with regulating civil aviation and employs roughly 45,000 people. All eyes have been on the FAA and airline industry in recent days after a plug door on a Boeing 737 MAX 9 blew out during an Alaska Airlines flight on January 5th. We talked about this previously in another video. The FAA grounded all 737 MAX 9 planes after the incident is carrying out extensive inspection and maintenance work. The FAA added it would increase its oversight of Boeing in the wake of the incident, including auditing Boeing 737 MAX 9 jetliner production line and companies that supply parts to the airline manufacturer, because you have to think about it. A lot of these manufacturers, a lot of these companies pull things in from other companies, smaller companies, other locations to make the whole. So of course, you need to look at everything, not just the last piece. You need to look at all the pieces that led up to that last piece being finalized, right? Now, following the incident, social media commenters and public figures have said that airlines and airline manufacturers' emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI for short, initiatives has made flying less safe. Do you want to fly in an airplane where they prioritize DEI hiring over your safety? Tech billionaire Elon Musk wrote on X last week, this is actually happening. And again, we talked about this when it came to Boeing and their diversity hire and the fact that they're, if you want to watch the video, I'll put it at the end of this one, but the fact that their, bonuses and things like that are now based on hitting their DEI checklist boxes, not anything else, which to me is a really, really crappy way to run a company, but that's just me. You do you, boo. Now, it says here, the DEI rot in the airline industry is way worse than you think. This is according to Daily Wire commentator Matt Walsh, who wrote that in an op-ed last week. We all know who Matt Walsh is. Critics of such commentary have pushed back on the argument that prioritizing DEI has made traveling less safe, with civil rights groups slamming Musk, for example, for the abhorrent and pathetic tweet. On the FAA's website, the agency states that people with severe mental and physical disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the federal workforce. Because diversity is so critical, FAA actively supports and engages in a variety of associations, programs, coalitions, and initiatives to support and accommodate employees from diverse communities and backgrounds. Our people are our strength, and we take great care in investing in and valuing them as such. This is according to the FAA. When asked for comment on the initiative, including what roles people with disabilities would fulfill, the FAA told Fox News Digital that the agency thoroughly seeks and vets qualified candidates from as many sources as possible for a range of positions. The FAA employs tens of thousands of people for a wide range of positions, from administrative roles to oversight and execution of critical safety functions. Like many large employers, the agency proactively seeks qualified candidates from as many sources as possible, all of whom must meet rigorous qualifications that, of course, will vary by position, according to the FAA. Now, Dr. Stanley Goldfarb, who is chair of Do No Harm, which is a group of healthcare professionals, medical students, and policymakers working to protect healthcare from a radical, divisive, and discriminatory ideology, told Fox News Digital that similar to the medical field, the aviation industry has an obligation to protect its travelers. The aviation industry has a responsibility for traveler safety, just as the healthcare industry has a responsibility for patient safety. These responsibilities outweigh other factors when considering applicants to work in those fields. People with disabilities who can successfully complete the task should never face discrimination, said Goldfarb, a retired professor and the former associate dean for curriculum at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. Unfortunately, Goldfarb said, identity politics is creating opportunities for so-called oppressed groups by lowering standards for entry into those fields and thereby endangering the safety of those who it's designed to serve. Some endeavors simply do not lend themselves to identity politics, he added. Now, the FAA's website outlines that some managers can hire disabled people and veterans through an on-the-spot hiring process, providing required documentation is submitted. The FAA also notes that employees with disabilities will be provided reasonable accommodation on the job. So if you hire a blind pilot, is the reasonable accommodation that the co-pilot can see? Like, I don't think that's reasonable enough. And again, I can sound some type of way all you want, but when my life is in your hands at 30,000 feet up in the air, I need not 4 sets of eyes, that's a lot of eyes. 4 working eyes, 2 sets, 4 working eyes in the front of that plane, please and thank you. Now, it says here that reasonable accommodation at the FAA ensures that employees with disabilities have access to accommodations that suit their needs. This can include modifications made to existing facilities or special equipment. That is according to the website. Now, targeted disabilities are those disabilities that wait, hold on. I've lost where I was here. I messed it up. Hold on. Wait, pause, hold on. I messed myself up because look, I tried to put a screenshot into my notes and it like clipped it. So I was trying to read it and I'm like, where's the rest of the words? It's the targeted disabilities we already talked about with dwarfism, epilepsy, complete paralysis, which complete paralysis? How do you fly a plane with complete paralysis? There are certain things I don't quite understand, but okay. We're just gonna move on to the next one, which the next one is insane in case you were curious. It is from the Wall Street Journal and it asks, what's in those huge suitcases? $125 million in cash, apparently, just so you know, because a network of smugglers flew business class to gain extra luggage allowance, moving more than $1 million at a time from London to Dubai. Sounds like a part of the movie The Wolf on Wall Street. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's an interesting movie. It's not for young eyes, side note. But from what I could read, they looked like ordinary tourists with very big bags, but like a network of ants, they carried off tens of millions of dollars in cash from London to Dubai. And British crime fighters cracked a money laundering network that they say moved more than 100 million British pounds sterling, which is equivalent to 125 million US dollars. And a London court found two men guilty of illegal smuggling. Speaking of the British, look, I've told you guys this story before, but I'm gonna do it again. My child, when we took her to New York when she was like 7, we were behind a family of people who had an accent. And my child turns to me and in her best accent goes, "Why are they so British?" That was her her highlight. She was so proud of herself that she sounded like they did for a half a second. Anyway, that's not the point of any of this. Let's keep going. Now, speaking of British, the Telegraph shared how a Jamaican man who was saved from deportation by British Airways passengers is a violent drug dealer. A Jamaican gangster spared deportation when passengers on a British Airways flight led a revolt has been identified as a violent drug dealer, jailed for his role in a gun battle on the streets of Birmingham. Doubt the people on the plane knew that. Lawrence Morgan was convicted of firearms offenses in 2021 and was due to be kicked out of Britain in November. But his lawful deportation was abandoned at the last moment when passengers who were unaware of his convictions staged an intervention by refusing to sit down for takeoff. Morgan, who took part in a deadly gangland shootout in a packed Birmingham street, is one of a number of foreign criminals whose removal from the country has been frustrated by campaigners and members of the public. Let me just jump in here now and say there are so many people who want to stand up and speak out and, whatever for a cause, not even understanding what they are standing up and speaking out against or for. Case in point, this right here. There's been plenty of other ones when the people want to line the roads and not let cars pass because they're mad about oil and fuel and whatever else, not realizing that they're keeping people sitting in line on these streets with their engines running, and just they're worried about the ozone and all this other stuff. And here they are polluting with the cars that are sitting there. They're keeping people from getting to the hospital. Not to mention the fact that all the people that are sitting there in the streets, the odds that every single one of them only ride a bicycle, very small. The odds that they understand that half of the things in their life, if not more, are on, like even the stuff on their bodies, everything they've bought, everything they've done has been afforded them because of oil and fuel and things like that. And just people who protest certain things, it cracks me up. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. Let me get back to what we were doing. Let me see, where was I? Okay. I'm sorry, I lost myself. Notes and everything. Okay, his identity and convictions had not been revealed previously, but now the full horror of his crimes have been revealed. It will further fuel anger over the campaign to keep him in the country. The Home Security is said to be considering new measures to prevent passengers blocking deportation flights in the future. Morgan came to Britain from Jamaica in the early 2000s on a visitor's visa and moved to Birmingham, where he became involved with one of the city's violent gangs vying for control of the lucrative drugs trade. In 2016, he was sentenced to 5 years and 10 months in prison after being found in possession of a firearm and crack cocaine and heroin. The following year, he was given a 2-year concurrent sentence for supplying Class A drugs as part of a county lines operation running in Oxfordshire. Hard to say for some reason. In 2018, the government launched the first of a number of bids to remove him from the UK, but they were frustrated by a string of challenges and appeals from human rights lawyers. In 2020, Morgan was out of prison and took part in a shootout in the Lozells district of the city following the gangland execution of one of his associates. At least 13 shots were fired on a busy street and 1 man died as a result. Morgan was acquitted of murder and attempted murder, but was jailed for 5 years after admitting possessing a firearm. Despite using the European Convention on Human Rights to battle deportation, claiming a right to family life, Morgan was given notice that he was to be removed from the UK last year. On November 10th, after he was placed on board a Boeing 777 British Airways flight from Gatwick to Kingston, Jamaica. But before the flight was able to take off, Morgan began struggling, and passengers who were unaware of his background complained to the BA crew about his treatment. A group refused to sit down, and eventually the captain abandoned takeoff and returned to the terminal. Morgan was removed from the flight and is understood to be being held at a detention center. James Cleverly, the Home Secretary, is understood to be considering ways to prevent passengers from disrupting lawful deportations. A source close to Mr. Cleverly said, "This is an outrageous situation. We'll be looking at new ways to handle this issue." Think about it this way. The amount of people we have coming over the southern border right now, illegally, whatever else, they come in here and they wreak havoc. Max, quit licking your paw on the couch. Thank you so much. He starts licking his paw on the couch, and then he gets like all on the couch cushion, and there's just this weird wet spot on the couch cushion for like an hour, and it's kind of gross. Y'all who have dogs, you know what I'm talking about, or even cats. Cats probably do it too. But anyway, think about all the people we have coming over our southern border. and all the ones that may possibly commit some sort of crime, do some nefarious, horrific things, if you will. And imagine one of them on a flight to be deported back to where they came from, and a group of people standing up going, no, he's struggling, don't do that, whatever else, having no clue what this guy has done, whether it has been, child, trafficking, whether it was murder, whether it was anything else like that. Who knows what it was? And you have all these people trying to be, I don't even know what to call them at this point. I know there's a word, but my brain can't think of it. Trying to stop whatever's happening, and all they're doing is making matters worse, but they don't know because they have no information to go off of, just their emotions in the moment. I'm an emotional person. Even I would have been like, nope, I'm sitting here. I don't know what's happening over there. I'm going to let them deal with that. Anyway. Now, this is coming out of California. You guys ready? Because California, I just feel like it's always in the news. KTLA local news says, man wanted for stealing nearly $40,000 worth of items from Target stores. Look, y'all, let me see if you can see his picture here. This is the broski, right? $40,000. Maybe he got some hair clippers and give himself a haircut. This is, look, let me show you more. I got more. Oh, he ran. Look at him. He walked in. He picked up, that looks like an iPad to me. Can y'all tell that? And he hoofed it, took off running. So according to this, police are searching for a suspect wanted for escaping with thousands of dollars worth of items from Target stores across Southern California. The man is responsible for stealing at least $39,000 worth of merchandise so far. This is according to the Irvine Police Department. Recent surveillance video from Target shows him entering the store calmly and strolling around. He then spots a Target employee holding what appears to be an iPad box. He approaches the worker and pretends to ask a question about the item before suddenly grabbing it and sprinting out of the store. The worker is seen running after the man, but the suspect evades capture. Along with other thefts, police confirm the suspect has recently been known to grab iPads before sprinting out of Target stores. Security footage of the man was released by authorities in hopes someone may recognize him. Anyone with any information is asked to email Irvine Police at mricci@cityofirvine.com. Now, I will say that is one ballsy man to walk in there looking like regular Joe Schmo. I mean, hair all whatever and face all out and shorts and a sweatshirt and whatever else, and walk up, grab and run. And to do that enough times to have stolen $39,000 worth of stuff from different Targets, that's ballsy. Or psycho. It's one of the two. He's a psycho with balls. How about that? Now, Fox Business yesterday, January 15th, 2024. This is by Kira Maltone. I don't know how to say her name. The old American dream died. Realtor details salary needed to buy a home, afford a middle-class life in 2024. And we have a cycle keeping people out of the middle class, according to this realtor. Americans now need to make $120,000 a year to afford a typical middle class life and qualify to purchase a home. This is according to the experts, which in my opinion is batshit crazy to need that much money to afford the American dream as a middle class. Like, how did we get here? You know what I mean? Anyway, I think most of us in America would define the middle class as somebody who can work a 40-hour-a-week career and can have the income to purchase the average home in America. This is according to Freddie Smith, who is an Orlando realtor and, of course, TikTok creator, because everybody's a TikTok creator these days. He told Fox News Digital, I'm not a TikTok creator. I'm too old for that shit. TikTok and I don't get it. Leave it to the young bucks. I want nothing to do with it. It is what it is. The TikToker, whose videos explore millennial and Gen Z struggles to afford a home and the general cost of living in today's economic climate, dissected the common factors of living a middle-class existence. A lot of us grew up middle class, and we watched what middle class was in the 80s and 90s as millennials. And nowadays, what has moved the goalpost more than anything is the housing market, the realtor said. Smith explained how just a few years ago, literally just a few years ago, $60,000 to $70,000 a year would have been sufficient to qualify for a home. Now we're almost double, with the average cost of a house being around $400,000 to $420,000 in 2024. People's salaries would need to be around $120,000 for people to even qualify. The realtor highlights how this wage to housing gap has forced many people to rent for a longer period. When you have to double your income has to double in the last couple of years in order to be able to afford the same home from a couple years ago. That is crazy to me. Rent prices are taking up 30 to 40% of people's income, making it harder for them to save for a house. So it's this perpetual cycle that is keeping people out of the middle class, he explains, noting this trend has been continuing at a rapid pace over the last few years. Smith also explained how a $120,000 yearly salary, even without children, becomes a far lower number when confronted with the crippling debt most Americans are facing today, especially if you happen to have good old student loans. Most people are carrying student loan debt, which is at an all-time high, and the average payment in the country is $500 a month for your college degree. There are some I'm seeing in my comment section saying $500, I wish it was $1,200 a month for me. This is according to Smith. Credit card debt is also at a record high in America, and while Smith acknowledges that reckless spending could be a factor, some people just have no willpower, no self-control when they have plastic in their hands. He has learned from many Americans commenting on his posts that many are forced to use their credit cards for groceries because they ran out of money. Because again, inflation is a bitch. Inflation in grocery stores is up like 33%, but our paychecks are not. They are not going up at the same rate inflation is, and so people are having to rely on different ways of affording groceries and everything else, whether it be credit cards, whether it be taking out a whole new loan just to have some sort of money in your accounts, or it's getting a second, third, even fourth job. Who knows? Now, according to DQYDJ, the average American income in 2023 was roughly $69,000 a year, with only 18.8% of Americans reaching $100,000 or more. According to the same source, the top 10% of individual earnings started at $135,605 a year. The middle class is in a segmented state, Smith argues, largely determined by how much debt one finds themselves in. If you are someone who bought a house before 2020 and you have it paid off, or you have a 3% interest rate, you are not burdened by the housing costs like the 2024 adults are now. This is according to the realtor, explaining how debt, especially college debt, housing costs, and childcare are burdening millennials and Gen Zers starting their lives. People are spending about $1,200 to $1,500 a month on daycare, and I've even heard it as much as $3,000 to $4,000, of course, depending on how many kids you have. So when you add in somebody who's renting for $2,500, $2,000 for daycare, $1,000 for 2 college loans, just that alone, you need $100,000 as an income just for that. For slightly older individuals who had a chance to pay off their debt and have grown-up children, $70,000 remains a comfortable middle-class wage to them. These millennials are whining. These Gen Zers just work harder. If you bought your home before and don't have any other payments, that's really the 3-layered cake. Housing, college debt, and daycare, explained Smith, highlighting these 3 factors greatly determine your middle class placement. As a result of high housing costs, many young people are choosing to stay at home with their families to save funds. Multi-generational living. We've talked about it numerous times on this channel. Smith explains how he is seeing communal living go even further in Florida, where separate families are choosing to live under one roof. Many families with 3 or 4 adults and say 5 children, they all split a big house and they all take care of each other. You can see that they have a lot of toys and they're pooling their money. The TikToker enumerates how millennials and older Gen Zers had a difficult hand dealt to them. Young Gen Zers, however, have a lot of opportunity to crush in today's economy if they plan carefully to avoid debt and make smart financial choices. The millennials, they're in the pinched generation where college essentially stopped working for most. The debt piled up and the old American dream died, and we got left holding the bag. The creator said through posting on TikTok, he has learned a tremendous amount about the everyday struggles real Americans are facing through his comment section. People in America, real society, are sharing all this with me, and I'm learning at a rapid pace from all different individuals. It's not just Googling it or asking 100 college students what they think. It's thousands and thousands of people sharing what's going on. The realtor discussed how there is a bigger conversation around an evolving American dream that we're likely to see take place over the next few years. We're basically redefining the American dream from top to bottom, like the way that we see work and work-life balance, said the creator, explaining how the idea of owning a home might grow alongside past generations. I don't even know if millennials and Gen Zers want to follow that path of buying a house and living in it for 40 years and staying at the same job for 40 years. I don't think creatively, work-life balance-wise, is also what our long-term play is. Now, there's a lot of people who may not understand that it is definitely harder to buy a home today than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago, because the rate of inflation and the rate of pay has not kept in line like it had done previously in the past. Everything right now is just so incredibly wonky that it's difficult for a lot of people. So that's that. Now, lastly, FedEx, good old FedEx, is launching a new e-commerce platform as it competes with good old Amazon. And the company says its new platform will help business offer a custom post-purchase experience. Here we go. FedEx announced today, and at the time, this was January 14th, according to The Verge, that it will launch a new data-driven commerce platform this fall called FDX, that it says will give online merchants end-to-end e-commerce solutions. The company's new platform is aimed at helping businesses manage their supply chain, sell to customers, and manage deliveries. So it's not for the customers, it is for the businesses, just so you know. The company wrote in its announcement that FDX will combine existing FedEx commerce tools like access to members of ShopRunner, which is an e-commerce marketplace FedEx acquired in 2020, with features debuting in the fall like the ability to create a custom post-purchase experience so brands can give customers more accurate shipment information or use insight from FedEx's shipment network data for order management. Christina Meek, who is FedEx's global relations manager, told The Verge in an email that FedEx isn't in the marketplace business and that it's offering business digital capabilities and insights while they control their customer experience. The new platform comes as the company competes in logistics with Amazon, a company FedEx has seen as a threat to its business for numerous years. In 2019, FedEx declined to renew a contract to fly Amazon cargo through FedEx Express. Later that year, Amazon forbade its sellers from using FedEx for prime deliveries during the holidays, blaming declining performance, a ban it lifted the next year. FedEx has been losing ground to Amazon, as has UPS, so much so that Amazon made more home package deliveries in the US in 2022 than either of them, than FedEx or UPS. Amazon did more. That's just a few years after the online retail giant built up a logistics operation that largely uses tightly controlled third-party contractors that Amazon insists aren't its employees. So that to me is always interesting, that Amazon has so many third-party contractors that they're not their employees. They are 1099. They are Amazon contractors. They can hire, fire at will, get rid of, whatever, that are running everything for them. It keeps the Amazon overhead down because they don't have W-2 employees, so they don't need to have the same kind of insurance that a company would have. They don't need to have the same, they don't have to carry the car insurance. They don't have to carry the workman's comp. They don't have to carry the health insurance. They don't have to carry your 401k. That will come from your company that is being contracted by Amazon to make all these deliveries. So anytime you get a delivery, there's TikTok videos, Facebook videos, Instagram videos of Amazon delivery drivers just flinging packages or never delivering packages. You can't even go after Amazon for that anymore because you don't know who that driver actually works for. What company does that driver work for, and how many companies does that one go through before it gets to Amazon? It's crazy, in my opinion, how many ways large corporations like that find to, I want to say screw over people, because if you're not getting a W-2, you're not getting the ability to have, the 401k and all these things from your companies. That's a big deal in my opinion. But anyway, that's everything for today. I would love all of your thoughts and comments on anything we've talked about here today in the comment section below. Contemplate liking the video if you liked any part of this. Maybe subscribe to the channel if you like what we've done here today together. If not, no harm, no foul. I still love you guys. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, my dudes, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.